Okay, we should be back and live. Sorry for that little delay. So, take two. Welcome to the BeInCrypto weekly live stream. I'm your host, David Borman. We'll be here each week to discuss what's going on in the cryptocurrency market and what's going on in the world and how they're affecting each other. I'm here today with Danny, Tobias, Johnny, and Joop. We'll go around and do some quick introductions and get right into it. Our topic today will be the upcoming, well, first, what's going on in the market, and then the upcoming Bitcoin halving, as well as the Bitcoin Cash halving that just occurred. So, on that note, let's do some quick introductions. Let's start with you, Joop.
Yes, I'm Joop. I'm from the Netherlands. I've been into crypto since 2014. I was actually studying political science back then, course political economy, and it was really focused on the financial crisis. And then a friend of mine told me about some electronic internet money, and it happened to be Bitcoin, and I got really curious, invested a little bit as a poor student, and then kept up with the space since then. And at the end of 2016, I took a deep dive into the technology and everything else that is enabled by blockchain technology and the benefits of Bitcoin as a currency or a store of value. And yeah, I was pretty hooked very fast, especially when when the alt season of 2017 happened. That was a kind of strange experience, but I am hoping to experience something similar in the future. So I'm the manager of social media for all the BeInCrypto social medias, all the local languages and the English language as well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'll pass it on to Johnny.
All right, guys. I'm Johnny. I'm in charge of the English social media manager. You guessed it, from England, but I live in Prague. I got into crypto through being involved in an ICO. So I started in a company, and instead they just switched immediately, very quickly, to crypto and creating their own altcoin. And I was just thrown into it from there and never looked back since. Yeah, that's all I've got to say right now.
Okay.
All right, take it
Well,
up, Danny.
I'm Danny. I'll go on. I'm Danny. I'm the team leader of the Spanish team. So we're covering news, not only global news about macroeconomics, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, but also as additional, we do specialize news about South America and Spain. So we try to also show a kind of more local news to it, more specialized. And from my background, I studied media, and I ended up in the front-end development world, so a bit more technical. And from there on, I was lucky enough to meet a friend that mid 2017 told me the magic word Bitcoin. I already knew about it in the media and read about it, but not too much. And then from mid 2017, so the bubble wasn't there and people weren't speaking about it, but I just went really I dived in. And since then, since I went even to the maximum highest price to the lowest, I've really enjoyed the ride a lot. You learn a lot about yourself, and I hope I'm also learned for the next big boom to learn what to do when it goes up and when it goes down. And since then, I don't care. As more time goes on, I don't look too much about the price. I'm more interested about the whole ecosystem. And really loving it to be able to also be sharing it with other crypto buddies like here. So So that's me. I'm very happy that this streaming is on. So Tobias, I go with you.
Yeah, I'm Tobias from BeInCrypto Germany, where I write articles and also do the editorial work of our small team and also the social media management. Thing is, we're just two people right now because we only started at the beginning of the year, but we're looking to expand the team. So if you're a German speaker and you want to contribute, please feel free to contact us. Professionally, I have a background in computer science and cognition, and I got involved in the crypto economy during my year in Ghent as a techno-economics researcher.
Excellent. Well, now that we all have introduced ourselves, let's talk about what's happened since last week. As we were discussing, well, everyone's aware of the crisis in the world, financial and pandemic, but as of last week, crypto was performing pretty well after an initial dip against the other markets, and since then, it's done even better. It's gone up another roughly $1,000, and also some of the stock markets rebounded a bit, but we clearly have not escaped the financial issues at hand. It's very uncertain right now. Do we also, if you've been looking at the charts, Bitcoin has been hitting up against it's in an ascending wedge basically, and it's hitting up against a resistance zone. And I guess I feel like in the next couple of days we're at a make or break point, whether it's going to break up and continue to do well or break down and fall with the rest of the market. What are your guys' thoughts on basically, do you think we can keep this up? Do you think this is going to be the moment where crypto is shown to be stronger than a lot of other markets? Or do you think that this is just a temporary thing? Because again, people aren't going to have as much income. There's not going to be as many jobs. Where are they going to get the money to buy more Bitcoin? So I'll throw it over to, let's do you first, Danny, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, right now, it's the most hardest moment to even try to say, like, I think it's going to go left or right. I do think it's funny to see how Bitcoin is just becoming correlated with all the market, and it seems that everything goes at the same time, the same way. I mean, so I honestly, I'm almost normally when I speak with people, I'm kind of the optimistic side, but I think if you're a trader in the short term, you will suffer. I think,
Yeah.
or you will win if you know what you're doing. I'm personally I'm more of a holder mentality. So I think I don't think too much about like what's going to happen in the next 2-3 months. I just think more like in the macro, in the long term sense. But I think how the price is going. I mean, Tether is printing so much money as in the normal market as the Federal Reserve.
That's
so
true.
It's maybe doing the same effect, but there has to be a moment that it stops going up. The only positive thing I do see of the rise of this rally is that it's not. It seems kind of going. Each time I check it every day, the price it goes slowly up. It's not going like in one big hit. But as many people seem to say, is that after the halving, I mean, there's going to be all this problematic with miners, and how is that going to unfold? Well, I think in a short term, in maybe mid year, the mix of the miners capitulation plus how the market's right now, that it's a big question mark. I think we will see afterwards prices go down, but then in a long term to go up. I would be honestly very surprised. I will of course like it, but I would be very surprised if the price goes on being completely unaffected by exterior factors. I don't know what you guys think.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'd be surprised to think that we could keep going in this direction. Although in the long run, I'm perfectly confident in it. In the short run, it's hard to believe we're going to keep seeing this kind of growth right now. So, Joop, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I think right now we're just seeing a bounce happening, just like it's happening with the S&P and all the other stocks. But yeah, of course, it's hard to predict. But I think that people or investors are a bit too optimistic, maybe on how we're going to start the economy again. It's also, for example, Trump has been saying that he's going to start everything in 3 weeks, and I I believe that once you'll find out that it's going to take longer, the market will crash again. So that's basically what I'm looking for as an investor. So um, yeah, I mean, I think we haven't seen everything yet, and I think we're going to go at least as low or about as low as we've already been. But yeah, it's also a bit crazy to see that we have the halving coming up. So you would expect a bullish scenario. It's really, it's strange that it's all happening at the same time. So
Yeah.
it makes it much harder to predict. And yeah, as Danny also said, it's like um, for miners, it's going to be pretty tough. So there will be a lot of capitulation going on there, which is like, I'm not sure if it's directly related to the price. But yeah, I think we'll see a very volatile period coming up. Yeah, so we'll have to see. Right now, the chart is looking like it's basically on top of its rally. Maybe we can go a bit more higher, but I think the bullish bounce is coming almost to an end, to be honest.
Okay. Johnny or Tobias, do you have anything else to add?
Sadly, I have to agree as well. It sounds very negative, you know, in the current situation. But I just don't see how the market can keep growing and increasing, especially in this unpredictable situation where there's a few countries, especially in Europe, that are being hit very hard, and there are some that have starting to get more of a handle on it. Where I'm based in the Czech Republic, for example, they're talking about relaxing some of the quarantine situations because they seem to have it on hold, and they seem to be growing cases very slow, and that people are starting to maybe even consider going back to work. If this happens over a global area, then we can see the market start to just reignite again. But I honestly look around the world and I don't think it will do. I think for the next couple of months, people will be on hold for a little bit. And it will be interesting to see how the halving gets impacted by the situation.
Absolutely.
Especially.
Yeah, I disagree a bit because there's just so many bullish indicators that we're getting right now. So in the last week, we had several metrics from several different sites that show a bullish momentum. Then, of course, there's the halving coming up, and also the fact that the Fed is printing money without any restrictions now.
That's a really good point.
This is exactly the situation what Bitcoin was made for. So I think that at least in the long run we'll see positive signs again, and also Bitcoin and the stock markets were historically not really correlated. That doesn't mean that that Bitcoin is not affected by macroeconomic events. So I think that has something to do with people not wanting to be exposed to volatility. That's why we saw the big market crash on the 12th of March. But I think in the long run, this is going to not going to have so much of a big effect.
All right, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. In the long run, I think this is a bullish scenario for Bitcoin and crypto in general, because the Fed is basically said there's an infinite supply of money. So like, it is definitely what Bitcoin is made for. But I think that not a lot of people understand this yet. and people are first interested in this sounds a bit overreacted maybe, but surviving, like there's I
You're
think
right.
this week there's another 6.6 million US citizens that lost their job.
Yep.
It's unprecedented, and it's much bigger than what we've seen in the financial crisis of 2008 2009. So I think um, yeah, it will take quite some months, I believe, maybe even longer before and then Bitcoin really has to prove its worth, and also I think as a way of buying things, not just as a store of value, but it could be that we will see something like hyperinflation happening, which would be very crazy. I think it will affect a lot of things, but it's not like it's not possible. And I think there's actually a good possibility that someday this will happen, because we just keep on printing money, especially in the US, but also in the European Union. We've seen a lot of quantitative easing. I remember the former head of the Dutch central bank. He was being interviewed, and he said that if he would have suggested anything like what we've been doing the last 2 or 4 years, he definitely would have lost his job as the central banker. And he said he might even have been shut in a mental institution because it's such a crazy. It's like the biggest financial or monetary experience or experiment that we've ever conducted, and no one knows what's going to happen, and it's getting even worse now. So yeah, I think we'll have to see what part Bitcoin will play in this. But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff going to happen. Yeah.
To what some of you guys did.
Hard to predict for anyone, I guess. Sorry.
To touch on a couple things you guys said, there's a few factors that I think about here. One is, again, the printing infinite money thing that the U.S. Federal Reserve is doing is obviously, to anybody in the know, it's going to cause massive inflation. It kind of can't not. And that does seem to be like it's a really big opening for Bitcoin and crypto in general to step in. Another thought, though, is that as the dollar or other world currencies inflate, and again, as people are basically getting less work or out of work and struggling, I just don't know that there's going to be as much money to go into cryptocurrency markets. There's people like us who that's pretty much what they know to do with any spare money, but not everyone has that education, has that mindset. A lot of people are still completely dependent on and don't even think of any kind of store of value outside of their local currency. But then you have the halving coming up, and while I think that is a very strong, I mean, that's the whole point of crypto, is I think that'll be a very strong long-term push for the price to go up. I am worried about short-term capitulation in the miners. I figure the combination of the decrease in their income from Bitcoin combined with it, presumably like most of us, they're struggling in a variety of other ways. One has to assume they're going to need to sell off some of their reserves just to cover themselves. I mean, that's not a guarantee, but it would make logical sense. And that's where I come from with thinking that we're going to see more downside before upside, but it is possible other things are going to happen. And also, let's tie this into, we just saw the Bitcoin Cash halving happen. Now, no one expects the price to move much in the day or two after a halving, but I guess I'll open up to you guys. Do you think these halvings are priced in, and how do you think the general economic situation is going to affect the way that we all expect them to play out? Do you think it's going to play out the way people kind of assume, or do you think there's going to be a twist here? Let's open it up, but let's start with you, Johnny.
I mean, it's quite an interesting situation. I think generally, if we were to take away everything from what's going on, and it was just a normal year, I think we would see the price slowly increase. I'm more concerned with the mining when it comes to more centralization of mining, because these small mining operations, if they're just barely making enough profit from the electricity as it is. If they don't make as much, they rather stop or they move to a large mining pool. And we'll see more of a centralization of mining pools. We already know that a majority of them are based in China. It's not as decentralized as everyone likes to think it is. It is in a lot of the country of China. If you just look at 2 or 3 of the top mining pools, they are based in that area. And so it'd be quite interesting to see. It could open it up for more decentralization if somebody comes in as a big player and says, okay, we're going to set up here. But I think currently, it's hard to tell. I think the price will in the long term increase obviously as the supply and demand aspect of everything goes on. But in the short term, I just see because people are struggling too much. And yeah, that's what I believe.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's take it over to Danny.
Yeah, I agree there with Johnny. With well, like you said, David, also that we are into crypto when we manage this stuff, but many people have no clue what it is. Still nowadays, they just know the name Bitcoin as a brand. But you have to think that even people as us that do you use crypto for all your life spendings? No, you can't at this moment. So, and as you've said, well, we are a bit in survival mode, or a bit like let's take care what's going to happen. So I think even people like us maybe won't be buying more Bitcoin, but that's the part of like purchasing power it has to affect Bitcoin. On the other hand, I think the halving it's gonna have its effect, its wished effect, but I cannot believe that it's gonna repeat the same way in the history as it has before, especially with these new conditions. With the price, I think it will. In my opinion, my personal opinion with this halving is that all the technical aspects of it are there, and I mean they are showing that it's going to be positive in that sense for price wise. But I do think it's going to have like a delay. So if people expect that at the end of the year this is going to happen, their desired number, I think it's just going to take longer. There's just also like if you think about people. Not only about the purchasing power to buy more Bitcoin, because they're thinking like I have to pay my rent. What if the next 2 months I don't have, maybe my girlfriend doesn't have a job, something like that. Also about attention wise. I mean, you only have this small window that people can grasp about when they read about media. So it's just if you check the news, they're only speaking about this actual situation. How many other things are happening parallelly that nobody has no clue, because everybody's reading about all the printing, all the economical, coronavirus. It's like we only have that space. So many people, if we had stability, people would have the time to, I'm going to check about this thing about Bitcoin and stuff. So that's also another factor, and I think, to just paralyze at this moment Bitcoin. So I would be very positive if the price just stays balanced and it doesn't go up and down. I think that would be a very good sign. But I do think in the long term, so my conclusion is the long term, the halving is going to have the desired effect with Bitcoin, but with a certain delay. How long? I have no idea. That's so I am bullish in that case.
Okay.
But in the short, I'm just really like, I don't even look too much because it's like it's so unpredictable at this moment. So if you're wanting to go in and get into Bitcoin, I think it is a good moment. But you're gonna begin your Bitcoin career, let's say that way, with some nice moments for your nerves to go up and down. But I think it's a good moment price wise. In the long.
On that note, I just want to take this moment. I don't think I prefaced this at the beginning, but this is nothing what we're saying is investment advice. I hope everyone's aware of that. On that note, though, I would like to talk just for a second about everyone's philosophy, just personal philosophy. We're not telling anybody anything, but in a time like this, are you generally holding, accumulating, or trading on the volatility, just for your own personal, like how you handle your portfolio? Just curious. I'll open that up to everybody, though.
I am just buying dips right now. I'm not that actively trading because I'm too busy. Because yeah, if you really want to trade the swings, you have to dedicate a lot of time to it, which I don't have right now. So yeah, whenever the price dips, I just buy a little bit, and so I actually missed the last dump, so I'm hoping to have another opportunity soon. And yeah, that's basically my strategy. I do try to play with altcoins a little bit, although my strategy there is also mostly long term. Um, yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing right now.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not really a trader, so um, especially when it comes to day trading and technical analysis, I'm not really convinced of that. So I do more fundamental analysis and maybe trying to find out coins that will develop well in the long run. So yeah.
Okay.
What coins are you looking at?
Bitcoin, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, in the last few months, exchange tokens have developed quite well, and there's a good reason for that because there's really demand for them. But I think in the light of the halvening, I think Bitcoin will be outshining them.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to feel the same way. All right. Well,
I'll go on the next.
oh yeah, please.
Oh, I would say for me, I used to do with cryptocurrencies. I used to do more position trading, so maybe kind of bigger moves every 3 months, stuff like that. But I didn't like too much the thing of like checking the whole time the prices. I mean, I think you can lose it easily. So I'm more of the fundamental side. Check the project if it's solid, and then I would do position trading. But it is true that I don't know, the last 8 months, I've become 100% hodler to the max. And also because it's, as Joop said, you need time for it. I mean, it's not only checking graphs, it's also being calm. And there's a lot of psychological things you need. So I'm pretty busy with BeInCrypto, and I'm happy how things are going. So I don't see myself changing into, especially now, into an aggressive trader. I mean, that's from my side. I'm curious about Johnny. What do you think?
Again, I'm a hodler. Again, it's a time thing. It's just I don't have time to consistently day trade. It's
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's just the whole thing. It's very time consuming. It just takes a very, very long time, especially if you're starting from a very low level and working your way up. Even if an expert trader, it still takes a lot of time. You know, it's a full time.
I'm pretty much with you guys. I'm big on buying the dips and stuff, but I don't currently have enough. A lot of times I'll look back at the charts of the day and I'll be like, wow, that would have been a great move, but it's already like past the window. So
they're always good when you see them.
Yeah, if you look back at it, it's always obvious. Like
yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have our day traders or from the premium group in here right now. But if you're willing to learn more about trading or receive trading signals, be sure to check out our Telegram, and we can help you from there.
Absolutely,
to get everything started and help you out with trading. Also for longer term, see what is a good investment for the long run, but also like day trading and stuff like that. So if you're in that, drop by on our Telegram channel.
Yeah, definitely.
Also want to jump in there. If you're a Spanish speaker, we have also a Spanish speaking Telegram. So bienvenido sois.
Yeah, we have almost every language right now.
Oh really? Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I didn't know that.
No, not all, but like a lot.
I'd also like to take a moment to just point out that if you check out our YouTube, we'll be very soon starting to release a series of educational videos. So if you're totally new to Bitcoin and trading and all that, you can go from beginner to pro over the series of several weeks. So be sure to check it out.
Yep, yep.
So on that note,
Check it out. Subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe, like our videos, everything.
Hit the like, all the blah.
So one more topic I wanted to talk about today before we sign off is Binance. I actually meant to touch on this last week, but we didn't quite get the time for it. Basically, two main points. One, Binance recently acquired CoinMarketCap, and there's been a lot of talk about, is this a good or a bad thing? It makes a lot of business sense, etc. And also, there's been some recent accusations, which I don't know if I don't know what the confirmation on this is. I just know there's been accusations that there's certain users who are claiming their funds have been misappropriated by Binance and like basically frozen for no reason, etc. I guess the general question I'd be asking is, do we feel Binance is just doing what a company does as it becomes more powerful and then it inevitably gets flack for any little mistake it makes? Or do we think that this is something we should be concerned about too much centralization of one company in this space? So again, I'll open it up to you guys. I'll start with Johnny this time.
I mean, normally we expect this to happen with any sort of huge agglomeration of a company that comes in. But the difference is when it comes to crypto and blockchain is one of the main key reasons for it is decentralization. And so these companies coming in are just are fighting against some of the main reasons why people get involved in it. So I see it as there's two things I take from it currently. One, it shows there's a lot of money still there in crypto, even if people think that the price has dropped from the all-time high. I mean, it's reported that Binance bought it for $400 million. I mean, that's a substantial amount of money, you know, for a website and things like this. Two, it's a bit of a negative because they are buying by far the biggest website where people go to look for crypto. And we're not just talking about people who are into crypto, but anyone that just types in Bitcoin or Ethereum. CoinMarketCap is the first one that comes up every single time. Point. And so we're getting all these new users coming in and they'll be clicking onto this website. They've claimed that Binance will not be running it in any sort of way, that it's going to be a step away from the company, but only time will tell that if that's actually true or not. I personally can't see how a company can spend $400 million on a company and just say, it's okay, just do what you want. You know, we don't mind.
Do anything to involve ourselves now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing will happen. And again, it will take time.
Yeah.
I'm expecting Binance to get their fingers involved, you know, like take over a little bit, you know, start saying, okay, we don't like this company involved. We don't want this. We don't want that. Make sure you promote Binance. So we'll see.
Okay. Let's go over to Tobias.
Yeah, well, there's, as we all know, there's lots of rumors in the crypto space, and especially when you're the market-leading company in any industry, there's lots of rumors about you. Also, what happened with Binance in the recent case was that they basically closed an account from a person of which they suspected that the money was somehow obtained in an illicit way. What companies tend to do in this case is that they simply decide, okay, we keep the money until the authorities tell us what to do with the money. And I think this is the same in the recent case. So I don't think that they were deliberately misappropriating the funds, but they're just withholding them for investigatory purposes.
Does it concern you at all that they can do this at any time without like giving a reason to the because the person in at least the recent case was claiming that there was no wrongdoing, that they had contacted the authorities and that they said they hadn't requested it. Now I don't know what the truth is. This is all just reports. Is it concerning to you or anyone that they have the power to do this without being responsible for explaining to the user what's going on?
Yes, of course, it is concerning that. Actually, that is the situation that we actually wanted to avoid with cryptocurrency. So in a nutshell, don't leave your cryptocurrency on an exchange.
That's a good point, actually. Just don't leave it on an exchange.
I mean, that's also the thing with the centralization, and I mean, the crypto scene or industry is still. It shows that it's still pretty immature in a way, and we have a long way to go before we can actually start to realize the decentralized dream of like blockchain technology and stuff like that. I mean, I've been interested in decentralized exchanges for a long time, and I think there's like some are getting a little bit of traction, but it's still. I mean, like, why would the rest of the world start to implement decentralized technology if we're not even doing it? Like, I think
point.
it's a bit strange that we still trade on a centralized exchange when we have access to decentralized exchanges. I mean,
I feel like a lot of people will appeal to convenience over like I think a lot of us are conceptually on board with things like decentralized exchanges, but then a lot of people, when it comes down to it, it's still technically easier to just jump on Coinbase or Binance or something.
Yeah, it's definitely easier, and I think that's the whole problem with crypto where it's at right now is that like centralized stuff is just more easy, and it's not like decentralized blockchain technology is just not that accessible yet. So yeah, I mean, it's okay for now, I guess, but I do think that we will have to see something happening in the coming 2 years to be able to still be taken serious. Like eventually it's not just about speculation, but it's about actually trying to build something new that actually works and is being used. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think once things become much more user friendly, it'll help a lot. Danny or Johnny, any other thoughts on that?
Well, regarding the Binance, so the thing of this file, this rumor of this court, I don't know if to call it that way, or this there's this one user, as Tobias explained, and it is the South Korean police that supposedly asked for it, but it's just a lot of miscommunications. Nobody is telling who is who, if this is correct or not. So I think it's a bit cautious this topic to speak about that. But regarding the decentralization, centralization, it's obvious that centralization is always going to exist. I mean, if for a decentralized exchange to work properly if you had a decentralized exchange, you wouldn't have customer service, for example. I mean, how many people can handle that? And it's a bit
you can have customer service on a decentralized exchange, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, who would be in charge of that? It has to be like volunteers, or you mean just by fees that they recollect, they pay?
For example, service node.
So
I mean, of course, if you the idea is that you build a network that is decentralized, so everyone that participates in this network has a how do you say that, a reason to sustain the network and contribute to it. I think that's the dream. So yeah, we'll have to see if eventually this will work. And also I think with a decentralized exchange that if you mess up, sometimes there won't be a customer service that can help you because you just send something to a non-existent address, or like you made a typo or something, and then you're just
and saying that's crypto in general. I mean, when you begin,
it's kind of hard, but it could that's the way it's going to be, if it's ever going to be like that.
Said this, what you said, like you need people to get in, to get into the ecosystem. Bitcoin is an example of how just people knowing each other built a marvelous thing that works perfectly and has never been hacked itself since it's been born.
Yep.
So it is possible. So it's just slower, requires a lot of voluntarism of people to get together, and so that's for that. But centralized exchange will exist. What we've spoken about Binance. I don't know if it's confirmed or it's still a rumor that they bought CoinMarketCap, but only the idea of doing this, for me, it's very clear. You don't that they want more control. I mean, it's just obvious. I mean, your goal as a company is to grow, and if you would spend such amount of money in the website that almost everybody uses, like as a price verifier. I mean, it's clear the CoinMarketCap has loads of information of users coming in and out. That's so valuable. So that they won't use that in their favor. Whoever says no, I think it's too innocent. I mean, they will find their way so people don't find out. Or there will be a moment, it's so obvious, they will just go like, boom, okay, there we go. And maybe that will help other sites, and that will become the new trend. But I think it's, for me, it's bad news as any market if they would buy the main. It's like if, I don't know, Microsoft would buy Google. This news is kind of like that, like it becomes too big. I would say that way.
You have to also think it like this. CoinMarketCap is also a tool for comparing exchanges. So when Binance buys out CoinMarketCap, there's no way that this is a good thing. Who knows what kind of abuse they could be capable of doing with that.
In some ways, you could compare it to if like a business bought a newspaper, which does happen. But like the idea that they're going to control the flow of information, so they're obviously not going to let it make them look bad under any or you'd expect that at least.
I mean, if you're the main buyer, that you're the one paying the checks to make that work. If one day you have to attack your buyer, you maybe do it, but in a softer way. And I think it's how the market works, basically. Everybody's playing Monopoly and trying to be bigger, but it's not great news, I think, for crypto.
One thing I would say about with centralized versus decentralized exchanges is just it occurs to me that like with a lot of crypto, the idea is basically that you want to set it up and then you want it to basically work, like just like Bitcoin again has no customer service, but if used properly, everything works correctly. At least that's the theory. And I think it would be nice if we could see decentralized exchanges where they worked so tightly that there was no issues. The biggest problem, of course, is still going to be education. They tend to be more complicated to use and set up than anything centralized, because something centralized has a vested interest in doing everything for you and then charging you for it. So obviously we're all on board with the philosophy of like do things yourself and it'll be free, but I think it'd be nice if we could see, like more of a tight system where people aren't as confused coming into it and aren't having problems and then having nobody to turn to other than maybe message boards or, Twitter. Anybody else, any last thoughts on Binance or centralized versus decentralized exchanges in general? All right. Well, that's if anybody has anything else, but I was going to say that's all I have today, and we're at the top of the hour. So on that note, I would say we're going to wrap it up, but be sure to check out both our YouTube channel and our Telegram Signals group, where we'll be posting much of this content and much more. And we will see you all next week. And thanks for watching. And have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.